today we're going to be looking at remarks at the dedication of Aerospace Medical Health Center. We're going to be looking at vocabulary. We're going to be looking at comprehension, making sure that you understand those components of this section. Follow along with me while I read right here. Mr. Secretary, Governor, Mr. Vice President, Senator, members of the Congress, members of the military, ladies and gentlemen, for more than 3 years I have spoken about the new frontier. This is not a partisan term, and it is not the exclusive property of Republicans or Democrats. It refers instead to this nation's place in history, to the fact that we do stand on the edge of a great new era, filled with both crisis and opportunity, an era to be characterized by achievement and by challenge. It is an era which calls for the action and for best efforts for all those who would test the unknown and the uncertain in every phase of human endeavor. It is a time for pathfinders and pioneers. I have come to Texas today to salute an outstanding group of pioneers, the men who have the Brooks Air Force Base School of Aerospace Medicine and the Aerospace Medical Center. It is fitting that San Antonio should be the site of this center and this school as we gather to dedicate this complex of buildings. For this city has long been the home of the pioneers in the air. It was here that Sidney Brooks, whose memory we honor today, was born and raised. It was here that Charles Lindbergh and Claire Chennault and a host of others who in World War I and World War II and Korea and even today have helped demonstrate American mastery of the skies, trained at Kelly Field and Randolph Field, which form a major part of aviation history. And in the new frontier of outer space, while headlines may be made by others in other places, history is being made every day by the men and women of the Aerospace Medical Center, without whom there would be no history. Many Americans make the mistake of assuming that space research has no value here on Earth. Nothing could be further from the truth. Just as the wartime development of the radar gave us the transistor and all that it made possible, so research in space medicine holds the promise of substantial benefits for those of us who are earthbound. For our effort in space is not, as some have suggested, a competitor for the natural resources that we need to develop the Earth. It is a working partner and a producer of these resources, and nothing makes this clearer than the fact that medicine in space is going to make our lives healthier and happier here on Earth. I'm going to have you read this next paragraph together with me. Ready?
Yes.
I give you 3 examples. First, medical space research may open up new understanding of man's relation to his environment. Examinations of the astronauts' physical and mental emotional reactions can teach us more about the differences between normal and abnormal, about the causes and effects of disorientation, about changes in metabolism, which could result in extending the lifespan. When you study the effects on our astronauts of exhaust gases, which can contaminate their environment, and you seek ways to alter these gases so as to reduce their toxicity, you are working on problems similar to those we face in our great urban centers, which themselves are being corrupted by gases and which must be clear. And second, medical space medical research may revolutionize the technology and the techniques of modern medicine. Whatever new devices are created, for example, to monitor our astronauts, to measure their heart activity, their breathing, their brain waves, their eye motion at great distances and under difficult conditions, will also represent a major advance in general medical instrumentation. Heart patients may even be able to wear a light monitor which will sound a warning if their activity exceeds certain limits. An instrument recently developed to record automatically the impact of acceleration upon the astronaut's eyes will also be of help to small children who are suffering miserably from eye defects but are unable to describe their impairment. And also, by the use of instruments similar to those used in Project Mercury, this nation's private as well as public nursing services are being improved, enabling one nurse now to give more critically ill patients greater attention than they ever could in the past. And third, medical space research may lead to new safeguards against hazards common to many environments. Specifically, our astronauts will need fundamentally new devices to protect them from the ill effects of radiation, which can have a profound influence upon medicine and man's relations to our present environment. Here at this center, we have the laboratories, the talent, the resources to give new impetus to vital research in the life centers. I am not suggesting that the entire space program is justified alone by what is done in medicine. The space program stands on its own as a contribution to national strength. And last Saturday at Cape Canaveral, I saw our new Saturn C1 rocket booster, which with its payload, when it rises in December of this year, will be for the first time the largest booster in the world, carrying into space the largest payload that any country in the world has ever sent into space. I think the United States should be a leader. A country as rich and powerful as this, which bears so many burdens and responsibilities, which has so many opportunities, should be second to none. And in December, while I do not regard our mastery of space as anywhere near complete, while I recognize that there are still areas where we are behind, at least in one area, the size of the booster this year, I hope the United States will be ahead. And I am for it. We have a long way to go. Many weeks and months and years of long, tedious work lie ahead. There will be setbacks and frustrations and disappointments. There will be, as there always are, pressures in this country to do less in the area, as in so many others, and temptations to do something else that is perhaps easier. But this research here must go on. The space effort must go on. The conquest of space must and will go on. That much we know. That much we can say with confidence and conviction. Frank O'Connor, the Irish writer, tells us in one of his books how as a boy he and his friends would make their way across the countryside, and when they came to an orchard wall that seemed too high and too doubtful to try and too difficult to permit their voyage to continue, they took off their hats and tossed them over the wall, and then they had no choice but to follow them. This nation has tossed its cap over the wall of space, and we have no choice but to follow it. Whatever the difficulties, they will be overcome. Whatever the hazards, they must be guarded against. With the vital help of the Aerospace Medical Center, with the help of all those who labor in the space endeavor, with the help and support of all Americans, we will climb this wall with safety and with speed, and we shall then explore the wonders on the other side. Thank you. As you can hear, this was a speech written by the president of John F. Kennedy in San Antonio in November of 1963.
John F. Kennedy?
John F. Kennedy wrote it. Wow.
Sadly, he was killed.
Yes, he was. He wrote it in order to convince people. Do you know what he was trying to convince people to do? To travel where?
To Mercury?
To travel to space. To space, right?
So he was trying to make like the first rocket to travel humans into space?
He wanted people to go into space. Do you remember, this is for us to review comprehension, do you remember some of the reasons that he gave for us needing or wanting to go to space?
No.
So he gave us 3 examples, right?
First, medical space research.
We'll do what?
May open up new understandings for man relation in this environment.
Yeah, so he wanted us to go to research so we can understand how man relates to his environment.
Is that why when I was looking at pictures in the space book, I saw John F. Kennedy talking to a person in the, I think, Apollo 11?
That might have been it. Okay, what was the second reason that he gives us?
The second was medical space research may
revolutionize
the technology and the techniques of modern medicine.
So he wants to make our modern medicine techniques better.
And third, medical space research may lead to new safeguards against hazards common to many environments.
So he wanted to find ways to fix some of our hazards in the environments, right? So this essay that he wrote was to convince us to go into travel in space, and he gave us really good reasons to do that. I see you understood and comprehended some of the reasons.
I sort of understood it because um, like the ship I was talking about, I think that was the Apollo 11.
Mm-hmm.
I am a Boy Scout. When I was like, I think a tiger. No, it could be like a bear, tiger, bear. No, I think it was a tiger. Yeah, it was a tiger. When I was a tiger, we went to the Kennedy Space Center.
Uh-huh.
My mom remembers that, but she was at Disney when that happened.
Mm-hmm.
I went to that same ship. That was the, I think, Apollo 11. And all my group went inside it, and we took a group picture.
That's awesome that you have some background knowledge to tie this together.
There were some ships over there that we were allowed to go in, and we were able to sleep under one of the ships. I think I have a model of the ship. I just don't remember what its name.
It's okay, don't worry. We're gonna move on from your model. I want to practice your fluency. This is the paragraph we read together, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now I want you to read it by yourself.
Okay, I give you 3 examples. First, medical space research may open up new understanding of man's relation to his environment. Examinations of an astronaut's physical and mental and emotional reactions can teach us more about the differences between normal and abnormal, about the causes and effects of disorientation, about changes in metabolism, which could result in extending the lifespan when you study the effects in our astronauts, the exhaust gases, which can contaminate their environment, and you seek ways to alter these gases so as to reduce their toxicity. You are working on problems similar to those in our great urban centers, which themselves are being corrupted by gases which must be clear.
So I counted about 8 mistakes, which is great because
getting better at reading.
You are getting much better. We're going to reread this again later to see that if you made less mistakes. We are going...
So I'm trying to get a new high score right now.
Yes. We're going to look at vocabulary. We did comprehension. We did fluency. We'll go back to fluency. We're going to look at vocabulary. Some of the words from the story were metabolism, a process that allows for growth in life, impairment, injury or weakness, tedious, which means boring, booster, rocket used to launch a spacecraft, payload, a load carried by a rocket or other vehicle. We're going to work on a FREER model. Is there any one of these words that you prefer to start with?
The C1 booster and the payload?
Booster. Okay. So I gave you an example of a FREER model. We write the word that we're defining in the center.
Which was ball, and then we did the definition.
So we're going, yes, my friend.
And then example from the text, then a sentence, and then we drew a photo. My mom did it nice and easy, but I would suggest for you to do it with design. Yes.
With a design. All right, we're going to pick the word booster. That's the one you wanted to do, right?
Yeah.
So booster for our FREER model goes right here in the middle. We're only maybe going to have time for one of these words.
Okay.
And in the top box goes the definition.
Okay, it's
here. A rocket used to launch a spacecraft. We're still working on vocabulary in the story. Okay.
Okay.
All right, we're going to go to A photo. You want to draw the photo?
Sure.
Drawing a photo of a booster. Sounds like it's a rocket.
Or like a jetpack.
You can draw it any way you imagine it to be, or from what you remember from your trip to the space
I
center.
have not seen a booster at the space center. That's.
It sounds like it's the bottom of the rocket that helps it propel up into the sky.
Oh, then I've seen that. That was like super cool, but they made it fake just in case. So I would imagine two ways, like a jetpack, the jetpack of a booster.
So
Like
the
a
sentence
booster.
from the story says, "And last Saturday at Cape Canaveral, I saw our new Saturn C1 rocket booster, which with its payload, when it rises in December of this year, will be for the first time the largest booster in the world, carrying into space the largest payload that any country in the world has ever sent to space." But we'll work on that in a minute.
So I either imagine this.
Let me find an image. Yeah. So this would be,
Oh, that was the ship. That was the ship.
that was the ship you saw.
Oh, that was like the coolest.
Solid rocket booster. So those are the two things here on the sides that kind of go, they help it propel and
So
then they separate
I'm
off.
either thinking about a rocket booster that you wear, or that booster that when you look at it from the back,
Mm-hmm.
it'll be
See, they come off afterwards.
so it'll be kind of like, this looks sloppy.
Well, that's beautiful.
It'll be like two circles, like three circles, one on the top, one on the bottom, which the fire comes out.
Mhm.
That was like it was like super cool to watch, like a little show of it.
Oh my God, that was awesome that you saw a show. Okay, so let's do example from text. I'm going to think that this is
saw
a,
our new Saturn C1 rocket booster, which is a payload.
yeah, but I think that's a really long sentence, so let's
I can
minimize.
write it little.
How about this? For the first time,
For the first time,
the largest rocket booster in the world, carrying into space the largest payload that any country in the world has sent into space. We're gonna write half the sentence.
for the first time,
Comma, the largest booster in the world, largest booster in the world, comma, carrying into space the largest payload, EST, payload that
the world has ever seen.
the world has ever sent into space. Has ever sent into space. And now that you drew your picture, we saw a picture in the story in the computer, and you can use your background knowledge from your trip to JFK. Okay, can you write your own sentence using the word booster?
Oh, okay. I went behind the ship in JFK and saw its boosters.
You went behind the ship at not JFK. What's the name of the museum?
John F. Kennedy Center.
Okay.
So it was named after John F.
Oh, beautiful. So I went behind the ship.
and solids boosters.
And solids boosters. Okay.
Oh, and the cool thing was that they were able to make like a half and half, that same ship, and you were able to go in it, and it was like super cool. But you weren't able to go into the real ship. But it was like how it looked if you were gonna drive the ship in real life. And then they have like these games of astronauts fixing the ship, and it was like super cool. And there was this space center in space. Sadly, it blew up, but they did like a little model that you were able to go in, and you were like up high.
Very neat.
And then it showed how it looked when they slept and ate, the astronauts, where the astronauts slept and ate like that.
Amazing.
It was super cool.
It sounds like a phenomenal trip. Hold up your work so we can
yeah.
see your fair model. Very awesome. Let's practice our fluency one more time. See if you have less mistakes when you read this short paragraph.
I give you 3 examples. First, medical space research may open up new understanding of man's relation to his environment. Examinations of the astronauts' physical and mental and emotional reactions can teach us more about the differences between normal and abnormal, about the causes and effects of disorientation, about the changes in metabolism, which could result in extending the lifespan. When you study the effects on our astronauts of exhaust gases, which can contaminate their environment, you seek ways to alter these gases so as to reduce their toxicity. You are working on problems similar to those in great urban centers, which themselves are being corrupted by gases which must be clear.
Okay, so we're still at 8 mistakes, but not because you messed up on words, just because you missed a couple of words when you read it. So you did a lot better this time around. Thank you so much for helping me practice fluency, comprehension, and
You're welcome, Mom.
vocabulary.